Ever feel like life just keeps throwing curveballs your way?
Yeah.
Well, today we're taking a deep dive into the life of a woman who seemed to hit those curveballs right out of the park. Marion Sturtevant Musser. We're using excerpts from this incredible source, My Mom's Determination, to uncover a story about ambition, for sure.
Right.
But also about quiet resilience in a time when, frankly, women weren't always expected to have it.
And that context is key. We're talking about the 1970s here, a time of huge societal change, especially for women. Marion's story, it's like a window into how those changes played out in the lives of, everyday people.
Totally. This isn't just a biography. It's like a snapshot of a woman challenging expectations, like constantly. We're talking single mom, going to law school, raising kids, a nail-biting election, and hold on, get this, a record-breaking number of rattlesnake kills at summer camp.
Okay, that's amazing. And, as kind of out there as that detail is, it speaks to something important about her. This is someone who did not back down from a challenge, whether it was in the courtroom or, a campground full of snakes.
Exactly. So let's unpack this story. Imagine this. It's the 1970s. A single mom walks into Montgomery Ward.
Okay.
She's there to buy a washer and dryer. Seems pretty ordinary.
Well, yeah, on the surface. But remember, this is a time when a woman, especially a single mother, was often expected to rely on, a husband for that kind of purchase.
And the source tells us Marion just flat out tells the salesman, nope, don't need a husband to get things done. She's there to buy an appliance. End of story.
It's such a small act of defiance, but it's so significant. That one anecdote really gets at Marion's independent spirit. She refused to be defined by those societal expectations that were so limiting for women in that era.
Like a little rebellion in the appliance aisle.
Exactly.
And that independent streak, it just becomes a constant theme in her life.
Right.
But it really, really takes center stage with this next part. The legendary California road trip. Now, when most folks plan a cross-country road trip, they plan the route and reserve hotels.
Right.
But Marion,
yeah,
it's like she planned for every obstacle the ones could throw at her and then some. And remember, this is the 1970s.
Oh, right.
Not exactly known for super reliable family vans.
And it's important to remember, this wasn't just a casual family vacation. This road trip was a fresh start for her, a chance to build a new life, like on her own terms, far from all those old expectations.
And boy, did those expectations get challenged.
I bet.
The source, written by her son, it recounts this almost comical number of car troubles. First, it was a busted radiator.
Oh, no.
Then the tires decided to give up.
Wow. I can't even imagine the logistics of all that, especially back then, before cell phones and, roadside assistance everywhere you turn.
Right.
That really speaks to her resourcefulness and honestly, her determination in the face of all these setbacks.
Oh, but it gets even better.
What?
At some point, something called the cross-ventilator combustion chamber magnum carb decided to call it quits.
The what?
I don't even know what that is,
right.
But it sounds important.
Yeah, I would say so. What's striking, though, isn't all the technical stuff about the car breaking down. It's Marion's response to it. Every breakdown, it could have been a reason to just turn around, go back.
Yeah.
But she didn't. She just kept going. She just had this can-do spirit that, undoubtedly shaped how her kids saw the world.
Absolutely. You can just hear the admiration in her son's voice as he's, recounting all these stories.
Yeah.
It wasn't just about getting to California. It was about showing her kids that obstacles, even the ones with, really intimidating names, are meant to be overcome. But this journey with all its, bumps and breakdowns,
yeah,
it wasn't the end of Marion's story. This was just the engine warming up.
It really is almost like a metaphor for her whole approach to life. Face the challenge, adapt, and never, ever lose sight of where you're going.
I love that. And that brings us to what might be the most inspiring chapter of her story. Her decision to go to law school.
Wow.
As a single mom.
Wow.
This was about way more than just a career change, right? This was a statement.
So picture this. You're a single parent, you're working full-time, and then you decide, you know what? I'm going to go to law school.
Right, on top of everything else.
Exactly.
And it wasn't just any law school either. We're talking about a time when the legal profession, it was even more male-dominated than it is now, and that's saying something. Marion wasn't just going for a career change. She was entering a space where women, especially single mothers, they weren't exactly welcomed with open arms. You know what I mean?
It's kind of like she looked at that mountain of obstacles and said, game on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the thing is, She didn't just get through law school. She aced it. Like, the source mentions how she just crushed the bar exam. I mean, talk about a clear sign she was serious.
Oh, absolutely. And let's be real, this wasn't just about, hitting the books. This was about navigating a system that, to be honest, was kind of designed to keep people like her out.
Yeah.
Every success, it was a win, not just for her, but for other women who were trying to, break through those barriers.
Totally. So she builds this successful law career, right? But then she decides to aim even higher, a judgeship. It's 1984, Bexar County, Texas. And the source really paints this picture of Marion running this incredibly meticulous, detail-oriented campaign. She even went so far as to, calculate the precise number of votes she needed to win.
Wow. That wasn't just ambition. That was a really calculated risk. Think about the courage it took to put herself out there like that, to challenge the way things were in a system that wasn't exactly known for being friendly to, well, anyone new, let alone someone who didn't fit the usual mold.
And for a while, it seemed like she was on track for this historic win. She gets this huge endorsement from a major newspaper. Her supporters are fired up. And on election night, the results start coming in. She gets this incredible 22,000 votes.
Yeah.
But then there's a twist.
Yeah, and this twist is really important because it gets to the heart of, the system Marion was up against. So Texas back then, they had what are called open primaries.
Right, which means, for our listeners, that anyone, no matter their political party, could vote in either party's primary. That seems like it could lead to some, shall we say, interesting outcomes.
That's putting it mildly. And what the source hints at here is this possibility. It's this political tactic that's unfortunately not uncommon. Basically, some Republicans, because they saw Marion's opponent as, the weaker choice for the general election, they might have actually voted for him in the primary.
Wait, you're saying they might have strategically voted against their own party's candidate to try and influence the outcome?
It's definitely a possibility, and it really makes you wonder, what if? What if those votes hadn't swayed the election? Would Marion's whole career have taken a different path?
And get this, the guy who won that election, the one who might have benefited from all this, it was one of Marion's own law school classmates. And he went on to become a Texas Supreme Court justice, then Texas Attorney General, and now. He's a pretty powerful figure in the U.S. Senate.
It's a good reminder, I think, that sometimes the stories of, quiet resilience, those battles fought against all odds, they're just as important as the ones that make the headlines. Marion may not have won that election, but her story really shows us something about ambition, about perseverance, about the forces that shape our lives that we don't always see.
It really does make you think about those what-ifs. But maybe even more importantly, it reminds us that success isn't always, a straight line. Sometimes the greatest impact comes from just the striving, from that constant commitment to challenging the norm, even when it's hard.
I love that. And, in the end, Marion's son, he sums it up perfectly. He says, and I'm paraphrasing a bit here, he says he's glad his grandfather got the daughter he never knew he wanted instead of the son he thought he did. Marion's legacy, it wasn't about titles or positions. It was about the impact she had on the people around her. It was about showing her kids, and honestly, all of us, what it means to face challenges with grace and grit.
Absolutely. So as you go about your day-to-day, here's a little something to think about. Are we overlooking those quieter victories, the everyday acts of courage and determination? Maybe those are the stories we should be telling, the ones that remind us that real resilience isn't about always winning, but about always getting back up. This has been an amazing deep dive into the life of Marion Sturtevant Musser.
It really has.
Until next time, keep exploring and keep asking those what ifs.